Hi, I'm Veronica and welcome to my channel. Today I would like to tell you about the best balanced movement practice. What I simply mean is the way in which you move your body so that you can take care of yourself and stay healthy and mobile. I made a couple of other videos where I explain why routine is not good for you and how you could include things like intuition and playfulness into your practice and how you could learn to more to listen to yourself and your body's needs. And this video is meant to be like a something that combines all those snippets that I have thrown here and there and give you an example of a practice that would be balanced in such a way. So, as you might imagine, it's all about balance. So, if you ask me, so what we should go for a structured exercise or pure intuition, going with whatever your body feels like. So, there is space for both, and they do different things. Both are important, but it's really crucial that you don't miss out any of these parts. And similarly, if you ask me if it should always be slow, I say, well, slowing down is super important because you can start paying attention. But it's really nice sometimes to move the energy, especially if you're stuck in this kind of frozen state. It's important that you eventually start moving. And you can access playfulness often through this kind of really energetic, big movements, rolling around, just like children would do. So there is space for dynamic movements as well. Now, should you always be gentle with yourself? Or is there space for um, pushing yourself as well? So there's never space for pushing yourself in that sense that you disregard everything else and you get to the point of breaking. However, I've again made a couple of videos on how important it is to be okay with some level of discomfort. And if you get used to it within your movement practice, it's going to be also more natural for you to be okay with some levels of discomfort in your daily life as well. So it's all a balance between all these elements, fast and slow, structured and intuitive, slow and a little bit more dynamic. And I will give you a sense of how it might look like. It's just a random example. It could be completely different. I hope you understand that. But just to give you an example, let's do a short practice together. So let's begin by looking around the room in which you are. And this is a part of orientation, which is your way of giving subtle signals to your nervous system that you are in a safe space and that it gives just another layer of relaxation while you go through whatever you're going to practice. So once you've scanned this room with this kind of horizontal gaze that takes everything in without really lingering on any details, you can then walk on the spot for some time. And this is for you to help you find a place where you can stand in a way that is most natural for you, where your feet really want to land. And this is a nice moment to check whether you're holding yourself really stiff, kind of away from the ground, or you allow your joints to be open, allow some softness in the body so that all the lower portion of the body can start sinking down towards the floor, while the upper one is free and more spacious. And that's where you can start releasing in a more intuitive way And I always recommend to start with a bounce. It's a beautiful way of releasing the tension from the entire body, and you can do it your own way. So that means that this bounce can be really subtle and very slow, or it could be a little bit more energetic and bigger, even to the point that you lift the heels off the ground. So you can really make it your own. And the important part here is that everything is really loose. So there is no holding anywhere in the legs, in the thighs, in the pelvic floor, in the belly, and ideally not even in the head and neck, though that takes sometimes quite a longer time to get to the point that you really can let go of the head. And you don't really need to do it all the time in one plane. You might be uh, going for leaning a little bit forward or adding a bit of a sway with the head up or down. You might even hang out with more weight towards one foot. And all of that is led not through what you think you should be doing, but it's you're all leaning into, oh, this is feeling really good. I want to stay here longer. So you're going for the intuition. And if the intuition tells you, okay, now it's been too much for me, I need to stop and stay still for a couple of breaths, that is also what you're gonna do. Or if you feel like this has been complete for you, you can come to a stop. And normally it takes quite a while for the body to really start responding fully to that bounce. But then once you eventually get to this point that everything becomes still, it's nice to notice. Always notice and check what has changed, your relation to the ground, your relation to the space around you, the sensations, how many places within your body you feel more now. And very often you might start feeling this urge to stretch and yawn, and maybe that yawn is like moving through your entire body, and you feel like get to somewhere. So you can make some little funny sounds and allow this kind of free movement to go through you. And again, I guarantee there's gonna be some response after that. So you can give yourself a moment to feel it. So once you've done this little bit of a more intuitive thing, you're gonna go for more structure and paying attention to the details and really slowing down. And that will be through rolling down one vertebra at a time. So if you're standing here, what you can do is to connect to the point, the center of your gravity, the point that is somewhere in your lower abdomen, midway between the front and the back and the two sides. And kind of midway between your navel and the pubic bone, roughly somewhere there, right in the middle of your lower abdomen. And imagine that this point connects to the center of both feet. So you want to have your awareness kind of anchored on those 3 points as you gradually roll yourself down. And you start with bringing the chin towards the chest. That is when you already start feeling the vertebrae of the neck. If you place your finger there, you would literally feel them sticking out. And then the arms are relaxed. You're almost like a zombie, like really floppy in the whole body. And if you really want this movement to happen and to reach to each and every vertebra, you would need to start adjusting the position, playing with where is that center of gravity for you. Your knees would have to start bending at this point, your hips as well, so that you can really reach to each and every vertebra of your thoracic spine. And maybe this is all you want to focus on today, and just go through the neck And that upper spine as your hands kind of slide down towards your knees. But if it's going well and you still feel each and every vertebra kind of sticking out and separating from the others, as you make your way down, you can start bending your knees even more, bending your hips even more, so that you reach to each and every vertebra of your lower back. And then eventually let your head hang. So the head is hanging from the spine. And you can have that extra support for your sacrum if you have your fingertips on top of your hands, sorry, on top of the feet, or maybe on the ground. Your knees can be as much bent as they need to be so that it feels restful. And you're really upside down with the tail being the highest part of the spine now, the table. So you might want to stay here in stillness. You might wiggle your way around. And it would be nice to go up, reversing it, giving the weight through the feet. Again, feeling that connection between the middle of each feet and the point in the lower belly as you gradually reverse what you've just done without spinning up. So there will be still bent knees, and you're gradually getting to that lower back, to the middle back, chest, neck at the end of that movement. And notice just how it feels to do this one simple movement. It's really not much, and that can change a lot. Now you can decide how else you would like to go down to the ground, and maybe consider doing it in any way you want, but without using your hands, going down to the ground. And we're going to get into a squat, because this is one of these positions that humans are very, very used to in many cultures. It's really good for the hips, for the decompression of the spine. But in the modern world full of chairs, we kind of lost it. So as much time we can spend in squat, the better. And it's not a squat that you really try to be really tall, but rather that's exactly the one where it's a resting position, where you let your back round and when you let everything hang. And obviously you might feel like you're falling over, you're rolling onto your back, that it's not really happening for you, that the heels don't want to reach towards the ground. It's only irrelevant. The important thing is that you're finding your rounded shape for a moment, decompressing the spine. And then let's play a little bit with balance here. So you're lifting the heels off the ground and you can sway your hips a little bit. And this is the moment where you can already start getting towards that challenge part. So how you can challenge yourself. The balance is one of those things that brings up many fears. So it's great for getting towards this, let's challenge ourselves. Let's go beyond the comfort. Let's go towards bits of discomfort. And it's often like a mental discomfort more than physical one. So here you can check how it would be to have minimal contact with the ground with those fingertips. This minimal help from other two limbs. And then maybe it will be possible for you to let go of that extra support and balance here with your arms and with your fingers off the ground, maybe with the forearms on the ground. And of course, depending on how used you are to this movement, maybe this doesn't feel challenging at all. And then you can think of other ways that might bring that challenge, whether it would be lowering one knee at a time, or anything like this. Anything that would bring for you that element of going slightly beyond the comfort zone. Okay, and then you can release it, relax your legs, and come into all fours. So here we're going a little bit more for the structure again. And first, you find your way of resting in the all fours. So somewhere where you're not sinking heavily into all the joints, but you're also not pushing away and creating unnecessary tension in your body to hold that shape. So the earth is there to support you, and you receive that support for your entire palms and the lower legs. And try to start sensing where is the top of the head and where is the tail, and even imagining that there is like a thread between them, and somebody very gently tugs at both ends. Okay, so once you've got all that, the communication between the tail and the top of the head and the even weight spread through all four resting points without sinking, without pushing away, you can think of other ways you can challenge yourself. And that might be something like reaching with one leg back and then checking if everything else can stay exactly the same as you make only this movement. So as one leg straightens behind you and you still have it supported with the toes on the ground, can you shift the weight in such a way that it would be enough to be mostly on those 3 points of contact? Can you make sure that nothing was lost in the process, such as some sinking in the spine or some change in the position of the head, or maybe some twist in the pelvis? So can it stay all the same? And then you can play with what it would be, what would have to happen within the entire body for you to lift that leg off the ground and still stay within the same shape and still breathe. No holding breath, no unnecessary tension anywhere in the body. So you will again judge yourself where is for you that point of challenge. Maybe this is the point of challenge for you, and this already it requires a lot of effort to stay within that shape. If there is not much effort or challenge yet, you can see how it would be to start walking the fingers of the opposite hand. And then again, without creating any change in the shape of the upper back, in the position of the head, how it would be to have that other arm also off the ground. You could keep it still, or you could keep it playful and start moving within the structure. Play within the structure. So there's always space for structure and space for intuitive play. And obviously, if you feel that you need a little bit of rest, you give it a rest. Actually, it might be a good idea after doing one half cross body. You can rest for a moment to feel the difference between the sides. And then return. And it might be that that other cross half responds completely differently. So you immediately let go of that yearning for having everything symmetrical and catching up with the other side. Like this side might be for you completely different. So once you slowly move the other leg back, you might notice that, oh, this already feels like so much more effort than doing it on the other side. And then you might even stay here, or you might lift that leg off the ground and stay here. You will see what's going to work for you. But you're honest with yourself and you're still checking all these things, whether anything else changes in your body. Can you breathe? Can your face can be relaxed here? Can you keep your jaws relaxed? If you wanted to hum here, can you hum? Then you know it's not doing too much. And you might want to walk the fingers of the hand forward. And then if you're lifting the arm, it doesn't mean you're lifting the head. It has nothing to do with the head. So you're still looking down on the mat, and you're finding your balance here. And it might be still, or you might want to play a little bit how you could move within the structure and make it different, make it unusual. Then you can lower both limbs. And this is a nice place to again let everything sink, let everything rest, and dive more into stillness. You could do it sitting on the heels, and that alone sometimes is a little bit of challenge because it is again one of those positions that we're not necessarily spending too much time in. You could go into your version of a child's pose with any kind of support or position of the knees that is going to work for you, but looking for that rounded shape in the back together with the head and pelvis. And once you're in your version of child's pose, whatever it is, that's when you're diving inwards, slowing down, and where you can start breathing into the back of your body. So you're paying a little bit more attention to the breath flowing in through the nostrils. You could imagine that you're guiding it to the back. Obviously, you cannot breathe into your back. You can breathe to the back of your lungs, which are quite reaching quite far down your back. But you cannot, for example, breathe into your kidney area or into your lower back. But you can definitely visualize that. And you can imagine how that whole area is opening, expanding up towards the ceiling, and how everything releases and melts towards your thighs and towards the ground on each exhalation. And then you can get some support from your hands to slowly make your way up. And then you can sit with the feet on the ground. And again, use a little bit of that moving out of the comfort zone and a little bit more of this precise, structured movement as you're rolling yourself down to the floor. And it might be that you still need a little bit of support with your hands holding onto the legs, or maybe you don't need that support at all as you very gradually roll yourself one vertebra at a time with your head landing last. And this is the moment when you can again go for something more intuitive and let your limbs kind of float in space in any way they want. So maybe it's gonna be something more twisty, maybe it's gonna be something more shaky, maybe it will be more like a spiraling or kind of pulsating movement. You will see where this is taking you. And you're just discovering all these dimensions and directions in which all the joints allow your limbs to move. And it might be that the spine is still part of this movement, even though it's resting and supporting you from the ground. All right, once you've done that, you could add a little bit of that playfulness and roll. So you could add some momentum and roll forward and backward all along the spine. And if you wanted to, and again, you will see what is actually your point of that moving towards the discomfort or towards the challenge. So it might be something like trying to stay in the air with all the limbs just balancing on your bum for a moment. It could be something like even going with the momentum to the point that you're landing on the foot. You know, it all depends on where you are right now. What is for you that moment of, okay, I'm playful here and I'm doing something I would probably not do otherwise. But the momentum helps you. The momentum helps you, and it's all a game. It's like a game. Like you're almost curious. Oh, okay, what would happen if I'm gonna go for it? And it's fun. You know, it's not to reach to any particular pose. It's more to play with your own body as if it was like as if you were a child. It's exactly what the kids do. And once you've had enough of that, that's when you eventually can go for the resting. And you might do it kind of really purposefully. So allowing the first kind of reaching up with the arm and then allowing it to rest the shoulder blade and the upper arm and the whole arm. And do the same with the other arm. You might find a way to rest through the feet and through the pelvis, somewhere where it feels that you really don't put any effort into holding this position. So somewhere that if you fell asleep, you would stay exactly in the same shape. And that's where you can spend another few minutes feeling the contact of all the meeting points between the body and the floor, your feet, which parts of the feet are resting, which are slightly elevated off the ground. Then the same for the back of the pelvis, which of the bones are resting. Maybe feel for yourself, sense where is your tail, where is the tailbone, or how big is the gap between the lower back and the ground. Which of the ribs are touching the floor? Maybe you feel that when you inhale, the back of the lungs and the rib cage are slightly pressing into the ground, and then it releases when you exhale. Feel for the imprint of the right and the left shoulder blade on the ground. Can they be more spread out? Can they rest more? Sense where is the front of the shoulder for you? How far is the lower back? How far is your neck from the ground? Which parts of your skull are touching the mat? How your arms are resting? And keep asking yourself, can you rest more? Can you sink deeper? Can you spread wider? Can you melt a little bit more? And the breath helps you with that. So it's the inhalation that is like an expansion. And exhalation is that moment of melting and sinking into the ground. And you can easily spend a good few minutes doing that, thinking more and more, allowing your breath to flow freely and utilizing that exhalation as an opportunity to let go of whatever else you might be still unconsciously holding. And then when you feel complete, again, you might feel like doing some bigger movement, like stretching and yawning one more time before you gradually make your way up, first by rolling to the side and spending there a couple of breaths before you eventually come up to any comfortable sitting position. So I hope you enjoyed this practice and it was a nice balance for you as well of these various elements. And yes, please let me know how did you feel after that. If you have any questions, I'm always happy to answer them. And I will see you in the next video in 2 weeks' time. If you don't want to miss any, you remember you can always subscribe to my channel. And if you would like to get some help with things like chronic anxiety and chronic pain, I have some short audio files you can download from my website. There are 3. So I will link that below if you need